right, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Outdoor Addictions. Hope everybody's doing well today. We are located in Brookhaven, Mississippi, which is southwest Mississippi. Keith, where is Brookhaven located? Tell the good folks where.
You just said in southwest Mississippi.
Where is it located in relation to landmarks around the area, man?
We're about 55 miles south of Jackson, Mississippi.
Which is the capital of Mississippi.
It's the capital of Mississippi, and as a crow flies from New Orleans.
About an hour and a half or so?
About 2 hours, actually, from New Orleans.
2 hours north of New Orleans, right there on I-55, right?
About an hour east of Natchez, Mississippi. And
you stumped me when you said landmarks.
And then we're about an hour.
We're just south of old Miller Farm.
Miller Farm.
You know where those Smiths used to live? Well, don't turn there.
Don't turn there. If you pass it, you're gone too far.
We have a special guest with us today, Mr. Brad Barron.
Is he special?
Well, he's not. Well,
some people have called me special, but that's for a whole different conversation.
We've known Brad for quite some time. I know Keith we talked about, Keith talks about when he used to go into Greg's.
Deep South.
Yeah, Deep South, that you'd be in there sometimes.
Yep.
And Keith bought a gun there that I really want. Maybe you can talk him into it.
That's coveting now. You can't.
That's coveting
my gun.
It's not coveting it. I'm not. Well, maybe.
I don't know. That's sort of coveting.
You just want it. Don't you?
Keith has let me use that gun on a couple of occasions. I went on a bear hunt in Manitoba, and then I actually got drawn for some WMA primitive weapon hunts. And of course, that gun qualifies. It's a U-Berti, is that what it's called?
U-Berti.
Yeah. And
it's a replica falling block, 45-70.
It's a single shot, which is what's legal in the state of Mississippi for these primitive weapon hunts. And so, some of those now, I think you can hunt with a rifle now in some of those WMA draw hunts. But back in just a few years ago, you had to use a primitive weapon. So I had one. I got an old 45-70 that I've had for years, but it's that little short, handy rifle.
Right.
I just don't like the way it
kicks like a mule.
Well, it's like shooting a little kid. It's real short stock. It's like shooting a little kid's gun. I have long arms, and it's just not comfortable. But that gun Keith's got that long barrel, the octagon barrel,
right.
And
well, that is your fault, Keith, for letting him use it. You wouldn't have had that problem if you wouldn't have let him use it.
I know it. I think actually he's killed more with it than I have.
I've killed at least, I know I killed a doe. I killed 2 does and a buck with that rifle, and I killed a bear. And it was great, man. I had a wonderful experience with that gun. So I offered to buy it from him, but he won't consider selling it.
I think I bought that gun from Ricky kind of late in the season. And I took it, the last 2 weeks of the season was always primitive weapons.
Right.
I think it was right after they had kind of made the, you could use centerfire rifles, but they had to be a single shot.
That was just a few years ago. Wasn't that long ago?
Wasn't that long ago.
Wasn't that long ago.
But the last weekend of the season, I went out and I killed. On Friday was the 30th. I killed a nice buck that evening, and the next morning, the last day of the hunting season, I killed another good buck with it. Shot it about 100 yards through vines and dropped him in his tracks.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I kind of fell in love with the rifle.
You're not getting a rifle.
Maybe one day. After he's gone on to the good hunting grounds, I'm gonna approach his wife and say, Linda, you don't want a gun, do you?
It's only worth $40.
He's probably already told him. Probably already prepared for that. So.
Got it all written down.
I have heard other people calling for that gun. Something happened to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
you're not even first in line.
Not even first in line, man. That's okay. No, it's really a cool gun because I know it's a replica. It's not. It is the real thing. It's a real gun, but it's a replica.
It kicks like a real one.
But it's so heavy. It really doesn't kick that badly.
Not as bad as
that little handy rifle kicks far worse than
now.
That
Is U-Berti? Are there a subdivision of like Benelli or something like that? So I thought Ricky sold those under his.
It might be. I don't
under
know,
his
honestly.
Benelli account. I'm not sure.
I don't
I'd have to
know.
ask him
I
to
have
say.
looked them up. I know it's an Italian.
Okay.
That's who Berti is
Well, it
from
probably
Italy.
is
So it,
related to
Yeah.
Benelli. I
I
bet.
thought it was under his Benelli
It could be.
dealership that he was able to sell those. I'm not sure. He'll tell me when he listens to the podcast if I was wrong or not.
oh, listen, I went in there and he had one of those, was working on it, and I said, man, I think we were talking about the 45-70. He was fixing one up for somebody, the Buffalo gun.
Right.
He was
Yeah.
getting it ready for somebody, and I said, man, I'd love to have a replica. He said, oh, really? And he walked over to a storage room there on the side, and he came back out of the box up, and he laid that in my hand. I said, oh, dang, I wish you hadn't showed me this.
He set you up for that one.
Well, I'm glad you bought it. I'm glad you bought it. That's been many years ago. But, since then, I've gotten online and looked them up, thinking I could buy a used one.
They're not there.
Shoot. You can buy a new one for what a used one costs. But, I mean, people are against...
Now, is that a replica? Does the Winchester do a falling block like that? Or what's the...
probably so. I don't know, honestly.
Because he sold, I thought it was Winchester or something like that, some falling blocks.
This is kind of a replica. They call it like, what was the Quigley?
Yeah, it looks similar to
okay.
that gun that was used in Quickly Down Under, the movie.
Can you shoot that far with it?
No. Never tried it. But I don't know if you have those sights like that. You have the sights that...
No,
fold
I've
up
got
like that?
scope on this one.
Yeah, he's got a Zeiss scope on it, which is that scope matches up so well with that gun.
It does.
Ricky put the scope on there too?
Yeah.
It's very sweet shooting. The scope's not that old. It's the same age as the gun. I guess.
Same age as the gun.
But what I love about it is, I'm not shooting long distances, 200, 250 yards at
Right.
most. But man, it's just a heavy. It's not a gun you want to carry across a mountain range. It's not that type of gun. But I'm telling you, if you can find a fence post to lay it up on, it's going to be dead accurate. I mean, seriously. And I just carry a nice set of shooting sticks with me.
Do I like a heavy
I do too.
gun.
I've always liked a heavy gun.
The last rifle I bought from Ricky is a 308, and I bought it in a varmint. It's a 700, or the little short action, whether it's a 70 or 700. But it weighs 10.5 pounds before the scope.
My gosh.
I love it. Its barrel's huge, big long barrel. I can lay it up in the window of a box stand, and you can shoot your little finger
I was about to
100
say,
yards
I
with
thought
it.
he was going to say window of a truck.
Well, we won't go there. That's a whole different conversation.
He said window. That's the first thing that in my mind. This boy's been shooting out of the truck.
I've never done that, but I've always wondered about that.
But we're not going to do it.
Yes,
We're
we'll
not
never
gonna
do that.
Let's don't go down that rabbit hole.
Let's just say I've known people who've done that.
We've got
many
some
times.
they're logging, clear cutting our place, and I guarantee you next deer season where they clear cut it next to the road, we always have the same 3 or 4 people for the last 20 years that at 8 o'clock in the morning, they have different times, they'll park for about 2 or 3 minutes right in front of your cutover with their window down, they got their gun in their hand. And it's the same truck every time. From 20 years ago, I guarantee you, it's next to the road, we see them same dudes we seen 20 years ago.
Doggone.
Yep.
Sounds like the game board needs to put one of those motorized decoys out there.
One time I climbed close to one of them right next to the road, and he stopped. I was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He looked up like this and took off. That got him for the rest of the season.
I bet it did. Got him thinking.
Yeah.
Boy, it's one of the reasons I got I never shot a deer off the road like that,
Right.
but I didn't have any binoculars. Used to, if I was working in Hazelhurst and I lived in Monticello at the time, if I'd see a deer off the pasture, I'd have my rifle in it. I'd get out and I'd look at it through the, wasn't loaded or anything. It's the only thing I had to look long range, And you have people come by looking at you. And I thought, yeah, I better get some binoculars. That's when
Yeah,
I
you
bought my
better.
first pair.
Spotting scope or binoculars.
They don't think as much of it if you're sitting there looking through binoculars as you're looking through a rifle scope.
That's exactly right.
A couple of years ago, I was headed to Union Church, headed to the hunting camp on 550, and watched the little church out there past Lloyd Star on the right.
There's a little Methodist church.
No, the Baptist church.
I know what you're talking about.
The
It's out there close to Caseyville.
right there.
Yeah, I know
It's right there at Caseyville. I'm following this Toyota and Louisiana tag. And right before you get to Caseyville, there's a little field on the right in the bottom. You can see probably
I've seen some
100
turkeys
yards.
out in that field
Yes.
many times. Yeah.
I'm following this cat, and all of a sudden, I'm far enough behind him, probably 75 yards or so. He slams on brake and stops right at that field. He hops out the driver's side with his rifle, lays it across the hood, and shoots twice in the broad daylight with 3 cars behind him. And then hops back in his truck, pulls over to the old store, and I guess he's going to turn around. We just go on. We don't want no part of it. You know, I just ease on. But he stopped broad daylight. I don't know what he's seen in that field, but it was worth him shooting that and taking that chance.
Sure.
And
Well,
he shot.
It's not worth it, man. It's not.
Oh,
worth
no.
it. It's just too dangerous. But
I'd be...
people
that's
get caught
horrible.
up in the moment, and it's easy to do. But it's
You know
not
what's
worth
done away with a lot of that now? Is these cameras.
Yeah.
You can't hardly be illegal with all the cameras out.
it. Yeah, that's
You
about
know,
right.
you trespass on somebody's place. Anything where they got's good's gonna have a camera out.
Yeah, there are times when Keith and I and other agents will go out on a piece of ground, like somebody wants to sell their property, and we'll go out and take a look at it. Usually within a few minutes of us being there, the owner will call us and say, "Hey, are y'all out there on the property right now?" Like, "Yes, sir. We came out here and looked at it, and well, we got trail camera." Or somebody, a family member, just got a trail camera picture, cell phone camera. You know, somebody's on it, so they know within a few minutes whether somebody's on that place or not. And
Yeah, I went to go food with a stand on my own club, and I had a different 4-wheeler. And I don't know where one of our cats had the camera, but when I rode, before I got to the stand, he was calling me, "Hey, there's somebody on our club with a different 4-wheeler." I said, "That's me." You know? You know?
Yeah, I had a friend call me and ask about rabbit hunting on our place.
Right.
And I told him he could. I said, I can't get by there and unlock the gate. You just park the gate and let it out right there. And I meant to call or at least text the rest of the members in the camp because I don't have any cameras out there, but several of them had them out.
Yeah, I can't
And
afford
knew
those.
I knew they were going to, but I forgot to.
Right.
And I got the next day, I got, "Hey man, there's some people out there at camp." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Would you text everybody?" Now, that's the guy I told him he could come rabbit hunting. I said, "They're good." I said, "All they're gonna do is rabbit hunt and then they're gonna leave." He said, "All right." So
Yeah, because I did catch a guy this year that was riding across one of our plots, and the camera got him. It's an older gentleman, got some farmland next to it, and he goes, we seen him at the store like a month later. And we had a picture of him like from me to you. And, you know, because he got out and looked at the camera. This, you know, he ain't seen these telephone cameras before, you know. And so one of the guys seen him at the store, one of the members, and he told him, he said, "I wish you wouldn't ride across our plot." And he goes, "It wasn't me." He said, "Well, come look at my cell phone here." And he showed him the picture, and the old guy was like, "Well, I just like riding across there. It's a shortcut for me to go such and such, you know." Like, well, if you can just cut it out during deer season, we'd be okay.
That's right. That's
You know,
right.
if the camera caught him just straight up.
That's right. Well, we wanted to have Brad on the show today. Brad works at a place here in town called Greg's Office Machine Company, right? And
Right.
You've been working with him. Remind us how long you've been working with him?
About 36, 37 years,
Wow.
something like that.
And so I've known Brad for several years. He's done, over the years, he does computer work and things of that nature, computer repair. And seem like we're always having issues, right, Keith, from time to time. So
Maybe you got a bad repairman.
I think our repairman is you.
That's what I mean. Maybe you got a bad repairman.
So so I've been in there several times. And every time I go in there, we always talk about hunting and fishing and what the latest adventures that he and Ricky and others have been on. And I thought, it'd be good to have them on the podcast to talk. So we know turkey season. Here it is. It's the day before turkey season. So by the time this comes out, turkey season opens tomorrow, which is Friday the 15th, I think.
Yes.
So today's the 14th. So by the time this episode airs, turkey season will be wide open, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So for those of us who enjoy turkey hunting, it's a really special time of the year. And so we thought we'd have Brad on to talk a little bit about turkey hunting. So we're going to start it off right by getting you to tell us one of your favorite hunts you've been on. What's been one of the more memorable hunts?
One of the more memorable hunts. We've had a bunch of memorable hunts.
It's kind of hard to pick just one. Isn't it?
I guess it's the one I told you about the other day, that first hunt. The one I was telling you about.
Yeah.
where I told him the other day where the first hunt I'd ever went on, had never turkey hunted before. Went and bought a call, went to Walmart, bought a tape, learned how to cackle. You know, like, we gonna do this. This is, you know, this is on.
I'm curious, what was the first call that you bought?
A Lynch foolproof. And it was, he had one of the ones from Liberty.
I'll be daggone. You know what? I'm gonna walk over and get that thing.
Maybe that's mine I lost. You can just go ahead and give that one back to me.
That's it right there.
That is it.
That's
Right
it
there.
Look at it's even cracked and everything. But
Oh, wow.
um,
That is it.
that's the first one I bought years ago. Bought it at Walmart. Had the little thing on it's gone where your rubber bands would fit.
Right.
Man.
Yep. Little.
But man, I killed a turkey. My first turkey I killed with that box call right there. That's
Yep.
all I had. That's all I knew to use.
Yep.
What you do? Knock him in the head with it?
That's why it's got a crack in it.
Supposed to use a gun, Bruce.
So this was the first one you bought. You bought it locally here in Brooklyn?
Bought it locally here at a military surplus store. They went home, watched a video on turkey hunting, learned how to cackle. Just you know, that's all I could do. Got up the next morning, opening morning of turkey season. I had a whole 12 acres to hunt. You know, 12 acres right next to some guy's field who gave us permission also. And so we went down to the field in the dark, probably made so much noise. It's just
sure.
amazing. I hit the call one time, pitch dark. I don't know when to start turkey calling.
Right.
Turkeys gobbled everywhere. I like to freak out. I swear the bark almost fell off the trees. They were so loud. It was like, never heard this. Like, this is the best thing ever, you know. Turkeys hit the ground. You know, we called them. I probably called to them 40 times while they was in the tree. I didn't know no better.
Right.
You know, they finally, that's probably why they flew 150 yards away from me and landed in the middle of the field, you know, because I was calling to them so much. So the hens flew out first. They flew out. They was strutting around. I ain't never seen them strut around hens. The whole time I'm cackling away at them, just loving life. They gobble every time. And finally, like I told you, one time I cackled that one time, and right during the middle of the cackle, the 4 gobblers come out of the strut, raise their head up, look toward me, and start running. So then me and my buddy, we're freaking out. You know, we're like, oh, they coming straight to us. And they come running, and we're about 40 yards on our side of the fence, even though we had permission. The turkeys come under the fence. They at 10 yards. We just go to shooting. Ended up with 2 dead gobbler turkeys. And we was just laughing and joking. This is the easiest, funniest thing I've ever done in my life. There's nothing to this, you know. We're going to kill 100, you know. There's no way.
That's right.
And so we sat there, we walked back out to the truck, told them, didn't realize turkeys were so heavy.
Yeah, they are.
You know, even if you only told them for 12 acres, they're heavy.
That's right.
You know, got out to the truck, and game warden's waiting on us, sitting at the truck, at the tailgate. And we're like, what's the deal, you know? Somebody called the game warden because they hadn't heard nobody shoot in that area before. And so he's waiting on us, and we're like, oh gosh, what have we done something wrong or what have you? Nicest fella you ever wanted to meet.
Right.
You know, everybody should see a game warden in that capacity and have a whole lot different respect for him.
Right.
He sat there, we told him about our hunt, told him how easy turkey hunting was. He laughed at us. You know, he said, y'all never have a hunt like that again. We didn't believe him. You know, he said, I'd like to see y'all in a year from now and see how your position changes.
That's right.
You know, and so he said, y'all know how to clean a turkey? We said, no, we don't have no clue. He said, well, all right. And so he laid both turkeys on his tailgate, and he told me to get my knife, and he got his knife, and he cleaned one show me while I cleaned the other.
That's right.
And just
Super nice.
great fella. I don't remember the guy. I wish I knew the guy's name, but I never remember the guy's name. But best experience, still the best turkey hunt I've ever had.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know, easiest turkey hunt I've ever had. You know?
They normally don't work out that way.
No, we learned that afternoon. We went to a different place, and actually I hit a call. Turkeys gobbled, and turkey hung up out there at about 150 yards and wouldn't come. And I called too much, and he quit gobbling. Was like, "What's going on? This is supposed to be easy. You know, he's supposed to come to us. It must be just something with this turkey, you know? No, it's with every turkey."
I had a similar situation when I first went. I grew up in North Mississippi, married a girl, moved down here to South Mississippi. People were telling me you need to go turkey hunting.
Yeah.
So I bought that call, went out, had permission to hunt on a guy's place. And the first morning I sat out there and did the same thing. I called, turkey gobbled. It wasn't 20 minutes, old turkey walked in front of me and I shot and killed it. And I thought, man, and it turned out it was just a young gobbler.
Right.
It was a legal bird, but it was just a young gobbler, and it was by itself. But I killed a turkey the first time I went. So I came back telling everybody, this is easy. I think it was 3 years before I killed another turkey. 3 years. And so I went into it.
And probably hunted hard.
I mean, I had tasted success. So I'm
Right.
like, I'm going to stick with it, but I can't tell you how many times I'd go and you'd hear a bird gobble. You hear birds gobble. Not every time you hunt, but a lot of times you're going to hear some.
Right.
But just because you hear them doesn't mean you're going to call them to you. And things have to fall into place for that to happen. And I've learned you don't have to be a great caller to kill a turkey. You don't have to be the world champion, right, Keith? You really don't. No. You just got to know when to call and when to shut up. Quite often what we do is we call too much. I've learned that you just got to have patience, man. You got to have patience. That's what's hard.
Position too,
yeah,
is a huge part of. They're not going to come where they're uncomfortable, and I've never seen a guy that can call and make them come where they're uncomfortable.
That's right. If they have to cross a ditch, or anything like that,
could be something thick behind you that bugs them that you don't see when you set up. Because I've sat there and called on one before, called him to 4 different spots. Turkey was hung up, 3 different spots. I'd move, he's still in the same place. He'd gobble every time, he just would not come. He'd get within a certain distance, would not come. Moved 3 different spots. Luckily he was in the middle of us, so I could move. And then finally I got on another spot and he hit the call. One time he gobbled and come running. And then when you get over to where he's at, you look at the other spots where you was calling from and you're like, it just looked horrible, looked thick, this and that. And then the spot where I called from the last time, it was just a wide open right on a little ridge top and he just come running.
It really helps to know the terrain that you're hunting on. And that's easier said than done, especially if you got permission to hunt a new place or if you're traveling and you go out of state. Quite often you don't know what the terrain is like.
I said I was going to remember that. The next time a turkey was on that spot, I was going to kill him. I've never had a turkey on this spot since.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Just when you think you've seen and heard it all, it'll change. And now Keith and I had some really good hunts a couple of years ago locally, right? We had really good hunts, and we had access to a property locally right here, just literally right on the outskirts of town. It was just eat up in turkeys, and every time we went over there, we had good success. We didn't always kill one, but we did kill one.
Right.
But man, they were there and they responded and just they worked with you, and but it's hard. But that's the hard things what makes it fun, right? And Keith's got a hunting lease that we hunted on it, and the bird was literally roosting within sight of the hunting camp. I mean,
right on the edge of the hunting camp.
Less than 100 yards.
Oh wow!
Bruce and I had gone out the beginning of the season and could not hear a bird anywhere.
We went out, tried to roost one right day, and just nothing at all.
So it's and I had not really seen anything during deer season.
Right.
And I thought, well, maybe they're coming. And then I had a friend. We had a security, one of these camera set up right at a fork in the road where it goes into the camp.
Driveway, yeah.
The driveway. And one of the buddies that had the camera that we put up there, he sent me a picture. There was a gobbler strutting there in that driveway in the camp.
That's awesome.
It's probably midday or so, wasn't it? Something
Yeah,
like that.
and I sent that to Bruce. I said, we need to go back to the camp. Well, we did. And set up, we got a little shooting range set up right there in the camp where we got 100-yard shooting range, 0 rifles and things. And we kind of set up right on the edge of it, on the back side of the camp, on the east.
We literally
west
could
side.
see the buildings. It was right there in front of us. So.
And this turkey,
right at daylight, we owl hooted, cut us off. I'm like, man, he's just right. He's just right up
he
there.
wasn't 100 yards away.
I mean, he's just right up there. And that turkey gobbled, no joke. Everybody says this, but it's probably 75, 80 times.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he just all morning, just gobbled at everything. Every crow, us.
Yeah.
But he just was not. He flew down and kept gobbling.
And
But
it sounded like he's walking back and forth in
just
the woods over there.
One little strip of pine timber, and we're out in the open.
Right.
And we're like, if he can just come a little closer, we had decoys set up. We're hoping if you could, once you see the decoys, he'll commit and come on. But
right.
man, he spent there. He waited us out. That's what he did. And as the morning progresses, he gobbles less and less and less, and then finally he just quit gobbling. And usually at that point you just wait, hopeful he's coming.
Right.
But he never showed up. We stayed there a good while, didn't we? We hung with him. But
I've got some pictures that one of the other members sent me. He didn't go hunting that morning and had 4 gobblers in the camp yard.
Oh, wow.
That he took with his phone and sent to me.
Wow.
So you just never know. I mean, you don't have to be on the backside of the 40 acres you hunt on. You can be right there by the road. In our case, right there by the camp itself. And so, but that really seemed like that was going to work out, and
Right.
it didn't. It seemed like a slam dunk, didn't it, Keith? It
It
really
did.
did. We're right up. We just perfect. The bird's not aware of us even being there, but nature just takes its course. That bird is designed that it gobbles and expecting the hen to come to it, and it just reached a point where it just wasn't going to come any further. And I don't think it was suspicious.
No.
It was just waiting for us to come to it. And,
You talking about waiting them out? Me and Ricky, we talked about a sporting goods store.
Yeah.
That's what I've hunted with most of the time. And we was hunting up on a hill. We could see a plot down in the bottom. The turkey, the gobbler was in that bottom and flew down in there, had like 4 hens. He would gobble to everything we did, everything, not come. Just him and the hens in the plot. Eventually, one of the hens went off to nest. Eventually, he lost the other. He's down to 2 hens. It's done 10 o'clock in the morning. But he's still gobbling. He finally quits gobbling, but he's still there. We're watching him. We're not leaving as long as we're watching him. And, and Ricky said he's hunted a lot more than me. He said if he ever loses that last hen, he'll come run right up this hill to where we're at.
Right.
And I'm thinking, that's not going to happen. He loses one of the hens left. It's 12 o'clock. He's still got 1 hen. And we're like, he's going to keep that hen all day. We're like, we're just going to sit here all day. Eventually, that hen leaves. He follows her just for a little bit. Next thing you know, you see him. He runs back down to the plot and gobbles. And it's Ricky's turn to shoot. We'd always take turns shooting. Ricky's over there getting ready. And I'm like, what? He said, he coming. He's down the bottom of the hill. He's got to circle all the way around the creek and come up there. He said, he's going to run right up that hill. I said, there's no way. And you look, and he just, we ain't called to him. He takes off. He knows exactly where we at. He knew where we at all morning.
Right.
And he comes right up through there and runs right up in front of Ricky, and Ricky kills him.
Yeah.
And it's almost 1 o'clock or whatever.
That's so many times that happens. People have cameras set out over the same little food plot you were set up on, and then later in the morning or early afternoon, you end up getting a picture of that turkey.
Yeah.
Because he's coming to where you were earlier that day. And so if you can just wait it up, but it's easier said than done, isn't it?
Oh, last week, me and the nephew, we go over there, the turkeys aren't gobbling. He forgets his seat to sit on the ground with. I ain't giving my seat. I'm 58 years old, I'm going to sit on my seat. I made him sit on his jacket. He's not getting my seat. And we sit there, and we managed to stay there about an hour and a half, and he's had all he could stand. We leave and go home. A couple hours later, hunting club guy, one of the guys in the hunting camp sends me a picture, and the turkey's standing about 10 yards from where we were sitting.
You never know.
I'm like, you're not getting Uncle Brad's seat. Go ahead and let you know.
All right, I want to switch gears and ask you another question. Now, you've had the opportunity to hunt out of state quite a bit, hadn't you? Because you're always telling me stories of places you've been. Here's what I want to ask you. If someone's listening to this podcast today and they've never done that, they've never really hunted out of state, and I'm one of those people. I mean, I love the idea of doing that, but it's kind of overwhelming. Where do you go? How do you start? How do you even find a place? So maybe give some folks some advice about how do you do that? How did you do it when you started doing it?
Well, see, we never really had anybody. Me and Ricky, the guy I was talking about, basically started doing that. We never had anybody that we could turn to who had been.
Right.
And so basically, you want to find somebody who's been that you can get some sort of reference from. I would recommend Texas. Texas, to me, is the funnest place to ever go turkey hunting. Turkeys gobble off the limb. I mean, you can sit there and hear 40 or 50 turkeys gobble off the limb if you catch it right. But nowadays it's so much harder. Back then you could just find a guy who did turkey hunts in Texas, and most of the time they would have turkeys. Nowadays there's so many rip-offs in the situation. Now people will take your money and leave.
That's right.
You really got to have somebody, almost have somebody who's been there.
Right. Who's been there and done that and have some experience.
Been there, done that, or some reputable one. Some of these that you might have seen on a hunting show. or something like that, they lease to the public. You know, you call them a year before, they will have openings. You know, you might have to pay a couple $100 extra, but if you're only going to do it once every 2 or 3 years,
It's probably worth it.
it's worth it. You know, to go with a good, reputable place that you've heard of before. I would go with Texas. I find the Texas turkeys, even though no turkey's easy to kill, by no means, but I find they work better than the turkeys here do by far.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, I never really have turkey hunted in other states.
And it's a different terrain too. Hunting a different terrain is
yeah.
just, it's awesome. I've hunted, let's see, Kansas, Nebraska. I haven't hunted Missouri.
But you're going to, right? You're
I'm going to hunt Missouri this year.
That's great.
Is the plan. But yeah, I love hunting out of state. I think our turkeys are the hardest turkeys. I said I'm never going to pay for an eastern turkey hunt. You know, it's just too hard.
Yeah.
You know,
You're more likely not to be successful. I think.
know, God put Rios on this world for a reason. It's for us poor Mississippi boys who are all frustrated. We can go out to Texas and actually shoot a turkey.
That's about right. I've always wanted to do it, but if you get online and you start looking,
You're overwhelmed.
It's overwhelming. I mean, all of them look nice. They really
They're all
do.
going to look nice.
Their websites are cutting edge. Pictures look great. You read their testimonials. They're all
They're
positive.
not going to put a bad testimonial or give you a bad reference.
No.
You know, in number they call.
But
It's
you
not
know
gonna
some are better than others. It's just if you can have the luxury of talking to somebody who's been, it will help.
And if you don't hunt, maybe stopping by one of the local sporting goods store, like a local sporting goods store. You know, not some chain or something like that, but
Yeah.
somebody in your town. Normally you go have some hunters hang out and stuff like that, and you can tell the local guy, hey, that's what I'm looking for. Do you have any reference, or do you know anybody? A lot of times they'll hook you up.
That's true.
You know, it's the same thing with
That's
rules. If you go into an area, you're not sure about the rules for turkey hunting for this area, the best thing to do is go to your local sporting goods store, because they'll tell you.
That's true.
I've got a friend in Minnesota, bought him he called it a spot on a lake, but he called it his hunting camp, because there they have deer everywhere, and he wanted to hunt turkeys. You know, there's turkeys all over the place. He went and looked at it. So he bought the camp on the lake. He knew he could kill deer off of it and turkeys. And I told him, I said, he wanted to buy a bow to deer hunt. I said, well, go to you. Find a local store in town and go to it. And so he went and he loved it. A small guy hooked him up with a bow. But then the small guy also asked him where his land was. And he told him, he said, the guy asked him, so do you plan on turkey hunting? He said, sure. He said, well, you're about a half a mile into the no turkey hunting zone. Yeah. He never knew that when he bought the land. So he thought he was going to kill turkeys too. But he's right there in the zone they don't allow turkey hunting. He said he could literally hear them gobble from places he could hunt them.
It'd be nice to know that when he bought the property.
It would have been nice to know. You know, so buying property, you got to look out for all that.
We've learned that in real estate, and that Keith and I were talking about the other day. I just recently got certified to do prescribed burning.
Right.
And I've learned through that course that not every tract of land is considered equal when you want to burn. If your property's in a location where it's close to town, or a nursing home, or a school, or a church, or a poultry farm, in other words, if it's got, or even a numbered highway, your smoke can affect those areas. So if you've got a property where only those things, those buildings, those areas might be on one or two sides, you're probably all right. But if you buy a piece of ground where it's affected on all four sides,
right, now
you're restricted to when you can burn, if ever, legally.
Legal.
And so there's something you need to, as a buyer, when you're buying property, if you want to use prescribed fire to enhance your habitat, you have to take that into account. And I'll be honest, my eyes were opened with that as a real estate agent. I began to look at land a little bit differently. And the same is true for hunting. You got to know whether or not your property falls in an area where it's affected. And the big thing today is CWD zones.
CWD zone.
So,
and I always say neighbors.
Yeah, that's a big difference. What's around you?
I mean, you could have 500 acres and horrible neighbors, or 40 acres in the right spot with good neighbors around you.
It'd be
and it's just be incredible.
That's right.
You know,
it's not the size of the property. It has a lot to do with who's around you, what's around you.
Yeah, because I got 500 acres I hunt, or 600 acre block I hunt. It's a good hunting spot, but then I got an 80 acre block that is way better and more productive than the 600 acres will ever be.
That's right.
And it's what's around it.
It's just based on location. And so we tell that, matter of fact, we've learned that, right, Keith, with real estate. People come to us and say, I want to buy a piece of hunting ground. Well, I immediately start thinking of 100+ acres. They're like, man, I can't afford 100 acres. What do you want? 10, 20 acres? That's what I can afford. But then you begin to realize if you find the right 10 or 20 acres in the right location, it can be very productive.
Absolutely.
But you got to know what's around you. And those buyers are relying on us as agents to help direct them to property. And so that's one reason why we talk about all this stuff, right, Keith? It's hunting and fishing, and because it relates directly to the type of property that we sell.
And it's sort of a catch-22 because you want the guy to buy the land, but you want to give him an honest opinion of the land.
That's right.
Because you don't want some customer who's not satisfied with what they bought from you, because word gets around.
Because you've been there and experienced that
Right.
sometimes. And so we do that all the time. We may put together a list of properties that's available for sale and explain to the client, this one's, although it's smaller, it's probably a better investment because of what's around it.
Right.
And it's going to meet what your objectives much better than that larger piece that may have a nice camp on it. It may have all the amenities that you want, but this other piece might be the best option. Then you can build what you want down the road.
Absolutely.
And it's just in a better location, better fit for you and your family. It's your better, if you're buying a place to turkey hunt or if you want a place to deer hunt, then the terrain may be different, right?
Absolutely.
So depends on your objective. If you want a place to go fishing, you're not interested in deer and turkey. You're looking at fishing.
Right.
It's different. And so
You want riverfront, lakefront.
that's
something.
right. That's right.
Or at least something that's close to.
Or fairly close to. That's right.
Yeah,
So
we get a lot of people like Lake Okissa over here. Something is within close.
yeah, that's a
You know, a lot of
few
people
miles of Lake Okissa
are doing that
somewhere
now.
like that.
Like I know a guy by Lake Merritt. You can't. It's hard for a normal person to afford land on the water now.
sure.
But he bought him a place. It's a mile from the landing. He can be on the water in 15 minutes and off the water in 15 minutes. He bought a lot nicer place with a lot nicer house on it
And it's more
for a
affordable.
lot less.
There you go.
And he has a gorgeous place. And he said, I just drive put in, drive put out. He said, it's no big deal,
Can't beat it.
because he can't afford $100,000 just for a lot on the water,
Right. Right. You pay for that view, don't you?
Yes.
But you're right. You can buy something that's 5-10 minutes away for a lot less money, and you're there. You're still there within 10 or 15 minutes.
Right.
So you're just right on top of it. So
And that's what they're doing people down on the coast now too.
Yeah,
Just
same thing.
same thing.
Same thing. All right. Let's shift our conversation a minute, Keith. We always ask our guests a couple of questions before we close out.
Oh,
Brad doesn't know about these. So Brad, or Keith, go ahead. You ask me the first one.
All right. All your years in the woods, you've been in and out, deep woods. Have you ever seen or know of anybody that has seen a Black Panther?
not that I would say that I could trust. That I would know for 100%. Yeah.
Oh, you know those kind of people.
I know those people who have seen a Black Panther.
Yeah, quote, seen the Black
But no, I have definitely not seen one. And I don't know anybody that I trust their statement when they say they've seen one.
We get off this, I want to know who those people are.
You ever run into people that claim they've heard them or experienced this screaming sound?
When we were younger, all the older people would tell you that. They've heard what does it sound like, a kid crying or woman crying or this or that. My little brother swears up and down he was coon hunting and they seen one. He swears up and down it was dark. How you know it's black? But he swears up and down he's seen one. And I guess I can't say I don't believe him. He's my brother.
That's usually one you're going to say you don't believe.
That's probably true.
So you have known someone who's seen it. Your brother claims to have seen one.
Yeah, let's throw the claim out there. He's gonna watch this and give me a
It's
hard
always
time.
an interesting conversation because you mentioned the older generation. That is true. My parents' generation and their parents' generation.
All right, so
a lot of people talked about that.
you talk about a Black Panther, okay?
Right.
I was bow hunting years ago, not a Black Panther, but I had a cat that I seen at a distance walking down the creek to me. Same color, similar like a bobcat. Come right underneath me, but had a long tail. Tail come down to the ground and went up. But that cat was way bigger, bobcat, and had a long tail. And it wasn't a house cat.
Yeah.
And I was freaking out, but
So you're thinking you saw a cougar?
could have been, I don't know. He walked right on in and looked right up at me.
This was locally here? This was in Mississippi?
In Union Church. Could have been the biggest house cat on the planet, and I just got fooled by it. But I was way off in the woods. And, to me, it looked like a pretty big dude, and walked right underneath me. And I focused on the tail because I noticed the tail went all the way. It was a long tail.
Right.
And to this day, I still think I could have put my 4 fingers between its ears. I had that long to look at it, all the way down right underneath me. And I was like, the width between the ears on this thing.
I think it is plausible that there could be a cougar.
I don't, I'm not going to say for certain because I don't know.
There are documented cases. Of course, we know this in Florida, but there's been one or two documented cases recently in Arkansas. So
that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago,
and they,
one thing that we've learned listening to other podcasts and reading articles and things, the puma, the panther, was prevalent at one point in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
Just as was the black bear. It was. We learned that black bears. As far as the Mississippi Delta, it was considered one of the best places to bear hunt in the country. So at one point, there were. I believe this. There were mountain lions on the landscape, but that's been many years ago.
Many years ago.
But the black bear's coming back. You showed me pictures earlier of bear standing at your feet, right?
Yes, so absolutely.
It's very possible that a panther population.
He was looking at it and wondering why we emptied it for turkey season. He's got that look on his face. There should be something coming out of this boss buck feeder,
But there's not.
I guarantee you if I go over there Saturday, it will be rolled over because I'm sure the next pictures is him rolling it over and playing with it,
I think that is so cool to have a bear on the landscape like that. That's.
I'm not enjoying it too much.
I know it gets frustrating for the hunters. I get that. I don't have property. I don't have feeders in that area, but I can understand why people would. But I still think it's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to eventually having a season here.
One of the guys called one of the guys from the state, the guy who's over the bear program or what have you, and he asked me, he said, well, he's tearing up all our stuff. And the guy from the state said, well, that's easy. Buy better stuff. That's what he told him.
Yeah, they make bear-proof figures now.
Have they come over and tried to capture any of the bears? Have they?
No, the guy told him, he said, I don't know what you're complaining about. You only have one bear over there. Like they might have one that's tagged or something. I don't know. And he told the guy, he said, well, that's not true. Because I probably have pictures of over probably at least 6 different bears. I have pictures of cubs laying in a feeding trough on their back, sunning like a dog would, just loving life. A little cub that's 2 foot long.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And so, we have more than one bear.
Yeah, I think the population is growing, and I'm excited about it.
I'm excited in a way, but along with the hogs, I think it kills our turkey population.
Yeah.
Because there's nowhere, really, a turkey can nest and hatch those eggs out that a hog or even a bear is not going to walk downwind of and smell that nest and try to go to it and break it up.
Yeah.
I think I've seen our turkey population over there drastically drop, once of all when they sprayed, but then also
right.
when the hogs got prevalent, I think it's hurting our turkey population.
I think that's happened all across not just our state, probably our region, all across Southeast and certain parts of the country. It's gotten worse. So I don't know what the answer is. I think it's a combination of things. It's habitat loss, it's predators, it's all the above, right?
Absolutely.
It's a lot of things affecting it.
But then I say that, and this year we've had more turkey pictures around the camp and the clubs around us than we've had in years.
So maybe just ebbs and flows.
Maybe we had a good hatch last year.
Yeah. I think all indications are. I've listened to a podcast recently with the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, and they're projecting this year to be a very successful year.
I hope it's for me. Hope I'm on
Hopefully
that
it'll be
list.
very good. So, you know, I guess we'll know soon enough. You get in the woods, you start hearing a lot of gobbling, and you start
Right.
having a bunch of 2-year-old birds coming to you. That's exciting. It's
Oh
good.
yes. That's,
And you know, just get out and just enjoy it, man. Just enjoy it. Keith and I have a draw hunt coming up 2 weeks from now, I think.
oh wow.
Casting Creek WMA. We're gonna go over there and try that out, and we'll see where it goes.
I hope y'all wear them out.
I doubt we will, but it's gonna be challenging. But we're looking forward to it. So always
Pretty
looking for
country over
challenges. It is. It's real nice.
I've never been there.
They talking about burning, man. They have burned that place many times.
Really?
In different areas. You can see scorched trees, the landscape. Some of it was burned just recently. Others burned probably a few years ago. But man,
So
I'm
I've
excited
never
to see
been
that.
into burning because my father was what we call one of these unlicensed burners when we was kids, and we fought fire all the time because he thought he should burn off the whole neighborhood every spring. And so
Yeah,
I
that's
always said, if
something
I
I
ever
learned.
grow up, I'm never fighting fire again.
Yeah, I learned that. But, and I have burned some on my own personal property, but I recently got that prescribed burn management. I took that course, and
Right.
you know, I was telling Keith, I've learned throughout that process, it's not the fire that's the dangerous part; it's the smoke.
Really.
The smoke is the dangerous part, and because that's what affects your neighbors down the road. It's not the fire. Of course,
It's
the
the
fire
smoke.
is dangerous,
Right.
but if you burn in the right conditions, you can successfully burn a property, and it greatly impacts the habitat. But your smoke, once that smoke goes in there, you can't recapture it. It's gone,
No.
and so it affects your neighbors down the road, and especially those critical areas such as schools and towns and poultry farms. And
Ooh, I
nursing
can see
homes.
where that would be
Yeah, it's very beneficial. I mean, I'm sorry,
beneficial.
not beneficial. So you just want to be careful about where your smoke goes. And the other thing I learned that I did not know, and it's really, I think, going to benefit me as a hunter, is as the day progresses and as the evening progresses, it's kind of like when you're deer hunting, your scent air sinks. As it cools, it sinks. During the day, during the morning, as the morning progresses, the air rises, the air temperature rises. So therefore, your smoke, if you're burning in the mid-morning, your smoke's going to go up, it's going to clear, it's going to get up in the atmosphere and go on. But as the day progresses, and if you still got a fire burning toward the end of the day, it's going to settle. And it also settles along these creeks and drainages. It travels the same direction as the water. So the air simply follows the same path as water. If it's a big creek, it's going to move pretty quickly. If it's a big river, it's going to move even quicker. If it's a little dry creek, it's got a little water in it, it's going to naturally drain down in there. And your scent does the same thing.
You know, I
Your
ain't
deer
never
hunting.
thought of that on deer hunting, but when we elk hunted, we would hunt up the mountain one time a day, and that evening you'd hunt down the mountain.
Yeah, it's just for that reason.
Just for that reason.
Because your scent, as the day progresses, your
Excuse
scent
me.
will just go right on downstream with that water. And so as you're burning late in the day, you can imagine smoke following that creek that crosses the major highway.
I'm about to cough for myself.
And you begin to realize that it can impact traffic on the highway,
I'll be right
can be a bad thing. So, Keith, I'm looking forward to hunting season. The turkey season is opening tomorrow. So this is being aired on the day that turkey season opens here in Southwest Mississippi. So we're excited about it. And Brad, I hope you have a good season, man.
Sinus is killing me.
If you don't choke before
If I
you
don't
get out
choke,
there-
I missed the other two questions.
Oh, that's okay. Well, we had one more question, I think. Let's see. The other one was, all right, how would you say the fruit of an oak tree? What is the fruit of an oak tree?
I have no idea.
What does an oak tree produce that deer love to eat?
Acorns.
Say that again.
Okay. Am I supposed to pronounce it better? Acorns.
Acorns, there you go. We'd like to see how people pronounce it.
Well, so we're getting that. You pronounce it acorn. Good for you.
So it's not acorns.
There you go. It's acorns.
Okay.
See, man, we always ask folks that question too.
That's the way you weed them out.
Yeah.
Well, tell us real quick about your hunt in Missouri. That's coming up next few weeks, I guess. Sometime in April, is that right?
End of April. Looking forward to it. They say we're supposed to be at hunting afternoons where this place is at for the first time. So they're all excited about it. So we'll see.
That's great.
You know.
Well, good luck to you.
Yeah. If I even hear, as long as turkeys are there, I never judge the hunt on whether you kill them, you know. But as long as they're there, I've always enjoyed the hunt.
That's right. That's the main thing.
Because you can't make them behave.
You're going to miss that afternoon nap now that you
I know
can
it.
hunt in the afternoon.
Because when you hunt the mornings and the afternoons on a hunt, you know, like in Texas, the days are so long. You come back, by the time you eat, it's 10 o'clock, and then you got to get back up at 4 o'clock in the morning again. You wore out after 3 days.
I'm sure. Well, good luck to you.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we enjoyed having you. Appreciate you. And until next time, stay addicted
To the outdoors.
That was fun.
All right.
All right. If that wasn't